The alien commander stood in the dimly lit war room, the air thick with the heavy scent of ozone and metal. A great oval table surrounded him, populated by his most trusted officers and advisors, each an imposing figure of alien grace and lethal design. The commander's tall, angular body, plated in bioluminescent armor, flickered under the room's sparse illumination as he leaned forward, his elongated fingers tapping against the polished surface. "Humans," he said, his voice a guttural rasp, a slight sneer curling his lips. "A cowardly species. They cower in the face of true conflict, running from the slightest sign of danger. I can barely comprehend their weakness." His words hung in the air, a challenge to the officers seated before him. The alien empire, a conglomerate of advanced species spanning galaxies, had long seen humanity as a nuisance, primitive, unrefined, and hardly worthy of notice. But the humans had dared to defy the Empire's forces in recent skirmishes. It had been a brief, inconsequential resistance, easily crushed, yet it ignited something in the alien leadership. An officer, sharp-eyed and quick to speak, broke the silence. "You underestimate them, Commander. They are unpredictable. Their tactics are unconventional." The commander turned his head, his eyes narrowing. "Unconventional? You mean primitive?" He flicked a dismissive claw in the air. "Human technology is a mockery of what we've achieved. They have no place in this galaxy. We shall end the defiance swiftly, with the power of a single soldier." The room grew still. The notion seemed absurd to some of his officers, but to the commander it was a statement of pride, a declaration of alien superiority. His gaze swept over the gathered faces, noting the subtle doubts flickering in their eyes. "One soldier," he repeated, his voice taking on a chilling finality. "One soldier is all we need to crush them." The room filled with uneasy murmurs, but no one dared challenge him. The commander turned back to the main holographic display in the center of the table. A map of Earth flickered to life, its continents highlighted in bright alien colors. He tapped the display, zooming in on a small human city where they had recently engaged the Empire's forces. The battle had been swift, but the humans had managed to put up a valiant resistance, throwing off their losses with remarkable speed and cunning. For a moment, a spark of admiration flickered in the commander's eyes, but only for a moment. His fist slammed onto the table, snapping his thoughts back to the present. "I will lead the strike myself. We will end this rebellion with a single, decisive blow. I will show them their place." His officers nodded in agreement, many of them too fearful to challenge his command directly. But the chief tactician, a battle-hardened alien named Zoyar, hesitated before speaking. "Commander," she said, her voice low but firm, "the humans may not respond well to conventional methods of warfare. If you send a single soldier, you may inadvertently embolden them. Humans are not like us. They fight in strange, chaotic ways. They might see this as an invitation to escalate the conflict." The commander turned to her, a slight grin twisting his lips. "Do not lecture me on strategy, Zoyar. The human psyche is fragile, governed by fear and pride. One soldier is all they need to see the truth. They will bow or they will break. The weak will fall away, and the strong will follow. Their resistance will crumble. I have seen it before. You underestimate their weakness." Zoyar lowered her head. There was no arguing with Commander's confidence, though she couldn't entirely dismiss the gnawing feeling in her gut. She had witnessed enough of humanity's strange resilience to know they were not as simple as the commander believed. Still, she kept her concern silent. The commander had made his decision, and no one dared question him further. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the human diplomat sat in a similarly austere room, but his thoughts were far from those of the commander. If anything, his mind raced with a sense of anticipation, a cold calm amidst the chaos that was unfolding. He was not a soldier, nor a strategist. His strength lay in negotiation, in words, in turning an enemy's pride into their greatest vulnerability. He had met with many of the Empire's representatives before, but none like this. The communique had been simple, a direct threat. The alien commander's words had echoed across the interstellar network, transmitted to Earth's highest councils and political leaders. Humanity had been branded weak, inferior, and worst of all, cowardly. The message was clear: submit or face annihilation. Humanity, in all its chaos and discord, was not known for submission. The diplomat's expression remained impassive as he reviewed the data once more. One soldier, one alien. The commander's arrogance would be his undoing. He rose from his chair and approached the observation window. The Earth's surface glowed with the soft blue light of the sun setting over the Pacific, a fragile planet, surrounded by the vast expanse of the unknown. He thought of the many billions of lives it supported, each one burning with the same defiant spirit. No, humanity would not fall quietly. The diplomat's lips curled into a smile. "We are not cowards," he murmured to himself, the weight of his words carrying far beyond the room. With a slow, deliberate movement, he activated the comms link. The message he would send to the alien commander would be simple, but it would carry a weight that the alien leader could not yet comprehend. "Tell him," the diplomat said, his voice steady, "that humanity accepts his challenge, and we will see whose soldier is enough." As the message was transmitted, the diplomat took a final look at the horizon. The battle had already begun. The alien message arrived in the dead of night, the shimmering holographic image of the commander's face lingering in the air before the human diplomat. His sharp features, framed by the ethereal glow of his bioluminescent skin, radiated an unsettling confidence. The diplomat stood before the projection, his expression unreadable, hands clasped behind his back. The words of the alien commander echoed in the room, heavy with menace and finality. "Humanity has made its choice." The commander's voice resonated. "We will end this pointless rebellion. One soldier is all it will take. Prepare yourself for extinction." The image flickered out, leaving only the soft hum of the comm system in its wake. The diplomat's fingers tightened ever so slightly. A soft, almost imperceptible smile crossed his lips. He wasn't intimidated. This was his world: words, negotiation, and the silent power of psychological warfare. If the commander thought he had the upper hand, he was gravely mistaken. He turned, the movement fluid, to the human command staff gathered behind him, a group of weary but determined faces, military strategists, political aides, and representatives of Earth's largest nations. They were all here not to debate the outcome, but to prepare for the unthinkable. The threat was real. A single alien soldier was coming to Earth. "What do we know about them?" the diplomat asked, his voice calm, carrying an authority earned from years of careful negotiations. One of the strategists stepped forward, a tall woman with short-cropped brown hair and a sharp gaze. "The aliens are called the Xipherians," she began, "a highly advanced species. Their physiology is enhanced by biotechnological modifications, making them faster, stronger, and more durable than any human. Their weapons are devastating, capable of destroying entire cities in a matter of hours." The diplomat nodded thoughtfully. He had already suspected as much. Xipherians were known for their superiority complex. They believed their technological advancements made them invincible, and they had little understanding of humanity's greatest strength: its unpredictability. "But it's not about their weapons or their biology," the diplomat said, his eyes scanning the faces in the room. "It's about their arrogance. They believe one soldier will be enough to destroy us. They underestimate the human spirit. They think we are weak, fragile, but we are not. We have something they cannot fathom." A low murmur of agreement rippled through the room. The diplomat continued, "We're going to show them that we are not cowards. We will fight on our terms, not theirs." "How?" the military strategist asked, her voice cautious. "We don't have the resources to match them head-on. They've already proven their dominance in battle. We don't need to match them in strength," the diplomat said, his voice steady. "We need to outthink them. We need to make them question everything they believe about us." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. The room was silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on them all. But the diplomat was not deterred. His mind was already working, formulating a plan that would turn the tide. "We'll send a message back," he said finally, "but not just a message of defiance. A message that speaks to their pride. We'll challenge them in a way they won't expect." One of the aides raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" The diplomat smiled, his eyes glinting with a quiet resolve. The Zypherian commander thinks we are afraid. He believes that by sending one soldier, he will humiliate us. Let's prove him wrong. We'll choose one human to face their champion, and that human will win. Not through strength, but through ingenuity, through strategy. We'll show them that we are not just a species of savages, but a species capable of great cunning. The room fell into silence again. The idea was radical, if not borderline insane, but the diplomat's conviction made it hard to argue. They could not match the Zypherians on their terms, but they could defeat them in the most unexpected way. "Who will it be?" asked the strategist, her voice tinged with both skepticism and respect. The diplomat's gaze shifted to the far side of the room, where a lone figure stood apart from the others, a man, perhaps in his early 30s, with a wiry frame and a sharp, calculating look. His name was Captain Elias Creed, a former intelligence officer with a history of unconventional operations. He was not a soldier in the traditional sense, but his mind was his greatest weapon. He had spent years studying enemy tactics, learning how to predict their moves and turn the tide of seemingly hopeless situations. "Captain Creed," the diplomat said, his voice ringing with quiet authority. Creed stepped forward, his eyes meeting the diplomat's with a mixture of curiosity and resolve. "Yes, sir." "You're the one we need," the diplomat said. "You understand strategy like no one else. You'll face their soldier, but not in the way they expect. I'm counting on you to show the Zypherians that they've underestimated us." For a moment, Creed didn't speak. His gaze shifted between the diplomat and the faces of the command staff. Then, slowly, he nodded. "I understand, sir. I'll do whatever it takes to show them that humanity won't back down." "Good," the diplomat said, his voice unwavering. "This will not be a fight of strength. This will be a fight of wits. Use the environment, use their overconfidence, and when the time comes, strike at their pride. We can't beat them in a direct confrontation, but we can make them regret underestimating us." As Creed nodded once more and turned to prepare for the challenge ahead, the diplomat's thoughts drifted back to the alien commander. The Zypherians might believe they had the upper hand, but they hadn't reckoned with the human capacity for adaptability. They thought they could break humanity with a single soldier, but they were about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity wasn't weak. It wasn't cowardly. It was resilient, and it would fight, not with brute force, but with the cunning and ingenuity that had brought it to the stars. The day of the duel arrived with an unnerving stillness. Earth's atmosphere shimmered under the bright, watchful eyes of the Zypherian fleet, their ships hanging like silent specters above the planet's surface. On the ground, in a vast, empty plain far from any civilization, the designated battleground had been set. The stage was ready, alien technology poised to watch and record the fight, human forces scattered and waiting, and the expectations of both sides hanging heavy in the air. Captain Elias Creed stood alone in the center of the plain, the weight of the moment settling over him like a second skin. His mind was a whirl of focused calm. He wasn't a soldier by training, not in the traditional sense. His strength lay in his ability to think, to predict, to manipulate the situation in ways that his enemies couldn't anticipate. The Zypherians, with all their power and technology, had no idea what they were about to face. His uniform was standard issue, light armor designed for mobility, no frills, no unnecessary weight. A sidearm hung at his waist, but he knew it would be useless against a Zypherian warrior. He had no intention of fighting this alien on equal terms. The Zypherian strength would be his downfall. The arrogance with which the Zypherian commander had chosen to send a single soldier would be his undoing. Creed exhaled slowly, his breath steady as his eyes scanned the horizon. He had to be patient. The battle would begin soon, but not on the alien's terms. Across the plain, the sound of something approaching broke the silence. A ripple of dust moved along the earth as a lone figure strode into view. The Zypherian soldier was tall, imposing, clad in shimmering armor that reflected the sun like liquid metal. The alien's movements were precise, mechanical, as if every step had been calculated down to the smallest detail. The armor seemed to pulsate with a strange energy, a fusion of technology and organic material. The soldier's face, obscured by a helmet, gave no indication of emotion, only the cold, unyielding certainty of its mission. Creed's lips twitched upward at the sight. The Zypherian was everything the commander had described: strong, fast, and seemingly unstoppable. A perfect weapon. But a weapon with one critical flaw. It was a weapon built for combat, not for strategy. The alien soldier came to a halt, its weapon, an enormous, gleaming spear, held loosely in one hand. Its stance was that of a predator preparing to strike. Yet its eyes, those tiny slits visible behind the helmet's visor, never once left Creed's form. The Zypherian was assessing him, reading him, waiting for him to make the first move. And Creed let it wait. He knew the alien would be impatient. It was in their nature. The Zypherians relied on overwhelming strength and superior firepower. They would not expect their opponent to play the waiting game, to not immediately charge into fight. "Is that all you have?" The Zypherian's voice crackled through a translator, the words clear but dripping with disdain. "A single human? I thought you might at least put up a fight. This will be easier than I anticipated." Creed didn't respond. He didn't need to. The alien's arrogance was its greatest asset, and its greatest weakness. The Zypherian expected him to fear this fight, but he had already made it clear that he would not fight on its terms. With a smooth motion, Creed dropped into a crouch, his eyes narrowing as he studied the terrain. The alien's stance was rigid, mechanical, every move measured. That meant it would be predictable. That meant it would fall into the trap. The Zypherian raised its spear, the blade gleaming in the sunlight, and in one fluid motion, lunged forward. Creed's body tensed, but he did not move. The alien came at him with speed, but there was no finesse, no deception. It was the way a machine would fight, efficient, direct, but lacking the subtlety needed to deal with a human who had been trained to read between the lines of battle. At the last possible moment, Creed shifted. His body moved with fluidity that belied his wiry frame, dodging to the side as the spear sailed past him, missing by inches. In the same motion, his hand snapped forward, grabbing a small, seemingly insignificant rock from the ground and hurling it into the air. The Zypherian soldier, so focused on his target, didn't even register the motion. The rock collided with the alien's helmet with a resounding clang, distracting it for just a split second. It was all Creed needed. He darted forward, faster than the Zypherian could react. His movements were a blur, calculated, precise. He didn't aim for the alien's armor, but for the ground beneath it. With a single, expertly timed kick, Creed struck the earth, sending a plume of dust up into the air. The Zypherian's foot slipped on the loose soil, and for the briefest of moments, it lost its balance. That was when Creed acted. He lunged again, closing the gap between them in an instant, his hands grabbing hold of the alien soldier's spear. It tried to fight back, swinging the weapon with all the force it could muster, but Creed was already one step ahead. With a twist of his body, he used the alien's momentum against it, pulling the spear from its grip and sending it hurtling into the air. The Zypherian staggered back, momentarily stunned. Now the fight was his. Creed's mind was racing, every calculation already in place. He wasn't fighting to kill. He wasn't even fighting for victory in the traditional sense. He was fighting to make the Zypherian question its assumptions. Fighting to make the commander realize that humanity wasn't just a species of brute force. It was something more, something unpredictable, something that could outthink its enemies and turn their strengths into weaknesses. The Zypherian roared in frustration, charging forward again, its strength undeniable. But Creed didn't need to win this fight in a conventional way. As the alien closed in, Creed ducked low, dodging the powerful strike that followed. He spun and in a blur of movement, reached for the terrain itself, using the uneven ground as advantage. The Zypherian faltered again, just for a moment, and in that moment, Creed knew this battle was far from over. The Zypherian soldier's breath came in ragged bursts, its movements growing erratic with each failed strike. Creed could see it. He could feel it, a crack in the alien's invincible facade. The alien was fast, its reflexes sharp, but it was losing control, its overconfidence beginning to work against it. It had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to think, to turn the tide of battle when all seemed lost. Creed moved with deliberate grace, his mind calculating every motion, every response. The Zypherian's massive form towered over him, and its strength was undeniable. But Creed had never believed in matching raw power. He was fighting the alien's assumptions, not its physical prowess. It was a test of patience and timing. The Zypherian soldier had expected the battle to be won by force. It had failed to account for the human ability to improvise. The alien lunged again, faster this time, a spear of energy crackling at its fingertips. The weapon shot forward, but Creed was already rolling to the side, the air around him vibrating with the hum of the energy pulse. He landed on his feet, just as the Zypherian turned to face him again, its eyes now glowing with frustration. It had already started to calculate. How could one human be so difficult to defeat? Creed stood tall, wiping the blood from his lips where the last strike had caught him. His body was aching, every muscle screaming in protest, but he focused on the task at hand. The Zypherian was momentarily halted, its eyes tracking his every movement, trying to decipher his strategy. And that, Creed realized, was his chance. The Zypherian's pride was its greatest enemy. It couldn't fathom that a simple human could be a worthy opponent. It had believed that one strike would be enough, that humanity's reliance on technology and brute strength would make them an easy conquest. But humanity had something the Zypherians lacked: resilience. It was a game of patience now. The Zypherian would make one last charge, an attempt to end the fight with its overwhelming force. But Creed knew what to expect. He had been waiting for this moment since the first exchange. The Zypherian came at him again, faster than ever, its blade of energy crackling with lethal potential. It swung in a wide arc, hoping to cleave through Creed's defenses. But this time, the human didn't move. He didn't dodge. Instead, he used the terrain, another of the Zypherian's blind spots. With a sudden shift of his body, Creed launched himself into a roll, pushing off the ground with all his strength. His foot struck a small, hidden lever beneath the soil, one that had been cleverly camouflaged earlier. The ground gave way with a low groan, and a large, makeshift pit opened beneath the Zypherian's feet. The alien stumbled forward, its balance lost, its eyes wide with sudden realization. The Zypherian roared in fury, but it was too late. The pit had been designed as a trap. Nothing elaborate, nothing that could be detected by alien technology, but enough to shift the tide of battle. Creed didn't waste a moment. As the Zypherian tried to regain its balance, struggling against the earth that had opened up beneath it, Creed surged forward. His movements were swift, calculated. He darted to the edge of the pit, just out of the alien's reach. The Zypherian snarled, pulling itself from the pit with astonishing strength. But the damage had been done. The alien's energy was depleted, its momentum broken. The human had made it bleed. Not physically, but in ways that would make it question its entire approach. Creed reached down to his side, pulling free a small but powerful device, a pulse generator. He had planted it near the pit just before the fight began. Now it was time to use it. He activated the pulse, sending a shock wave through the ground. The blast wasn't lethal, but it disrupted the alien's senses, a sharp, disorienting force that rattled the Zypherian's balance. The alien staggered again, its vision blurring, its mind struggling to process the sudden loss of control. Creed didn't hesitate. He moved in close, faster than the Zypherian could respond, and drove a well-placed strike into the alien's side. It wasn't a killing blow. It didn't need to be. He aimed for a vital point, one that would disrupt the Zypherian's bio-enhanced systems, one that would ensure it couldn't fight for much longer. The alien recoiled, its body convulsing as its internal systems began to fail. The towering warrior staggered back, its energy flickering out, its once unbreakable posture now faltering. Creed didn't need to finish it. He had won. The Zypherian dropped to one knee, its helmet clattering against the dirt, and for the first time, the arrogant creature looked uncertain. The mighty warrior who believed that a single soldier could crush humanity's spirit now knelt before a human who had outsmarted it at every turn. You are not like them. The Zypherian's voice came, weak, gasping. The translator struggled to interpret the words, but the meaning was clear. It was not fear, but respect, something the Zypherians never gave lightly. Creed stood tall, his breast steady, his body aching but unyielding. "No," he said quietly, looking down at the defeated soldier. "We're not like you. He turned his back, walking slowly toward the small platform where Earth's delegation waited. Behind him, the alien remained kneeling, defeated not by power, but by the simple human trait it had dismissed: ingenuity. The diplomatic message had been clear. Humanity had proven its point, not by defeating the Zypherian with superior force, but by showing the galaxy that humans could adapt, think, and rise to any challenge. The Zypherians had learned that their arrogance had been their greatest weakness. And as Creed passed the watching diplomats, he knew this victory, small though it was, would echo across the stars. The universe had just learned that humanity wasn't a species to be dismissed. It was a species that would fight, adapt, and survive against all odds.